Cosine, similarity, and SEO. This math concept runs every single Google result, and most SEOs have never heard of it. I know this because I speak a lot publicly and I ask the audience, and I'll be lucky in a room of 400 people if 2 people put their hand up. So this is the secret sauce. Ranking on Google isn't art, it's specific math, and this is the cheat sheet. You could have the best backlinks, like the best metrics in the world, and like the slickest website design, and an EET score that's amazing. And the reality is, if the backlinks are not semantically aligned with the website and the content you're trying to rank for, then you're basically invisible. And the math behind semantically relevant is a concept called cosine similarity. But wait, before you bounce, this isn't an algebra class. You don't need a calculator, just a brain, a strategy, maybe some caffeine. I won't break your brains until the end, okay? That's my promise to you. So let's break down how Google actually uses this to judge your content and how to use it to resurrect rankings without writing a single new blog post. You've got content, you've got links, but your rankings are flat and the traffic has plateaued. And why is that? Because Google doesn't scan for keywords anymore. It runs your page and your user's query through a mathematical model to measure how similar they are. And that model is called cosine similarity. This is a practical use of a mathematical concept that quietly runs everything in modern SEO. You've probably heard of a vector database or vector search. If you haven't, you need to understand this concept, because all LLMs or large language models are 3-dimensional space. And vector search is actually searching and retrieving results in 3-dimensional space, not in 2-dimensional space, right? How is something semantically relevant or really close in 2-dimensional space? It's done through cosine similarity, and I'll get further into that process in a while. And the reality is, my role here and what I'm trying to do is take cosine similarity from being this nerdy fringe concept to the most important ranking signal. And I'm doing my best to get this information out there because it's been incredibly powerful. We've ranked some highly competitive keywords for #1, bringing in billions for our clients. I know it sounds ridiculous and all these things, but we are literally bringing in billions of dollars for our clients at the moment based on this simple concept. So please stay with me. It's not hard math. You'll get through this. So what is cosine similarity? Don't worry, I'm going to keep this really, really simple. Cosine similarity is a way to measure how similar 2 pieces of text are. It doesn't matter how long they are. It matters about the meaning. So it could be one word or one phrase compared to a whole string of phrases or a whole sentence. So in order to do that, Google turns your content into something called a vector. Basically, it turns a word into a number and then puts that number in 3-dimensional space. And each unique word has its own dimension. The closer that this word is here to this word here in 3-dimensional space is a mathematical representation which is done with the concept of cosine similarity. And how Google figures this out is it measures the angle between these 2 vectors. If the vector is 1, it's a perfect match. If it's 0, it's completely unrelated. And if it's -1, it's an opposite meaning. So here's a quick example. You have 3 short text strings: a white dog, a blue cat, a white cat. When these are turned into vectors using the simple bag of words method, cosine similarity shows that the white cat is more similar to white dog than blue cat is. Why? Because shared words have similar meaning. If the cosine similarity is 0 and your traffic is 0, it's as simple as that. And that's what Google is doing every time with your content at scale. It's basically figuring out how closely related these terms are. Another way to look at this is contextualization, because basically what Google is doing is contextualizing words into numbers. So you might have a term like apple. Is apple a fruit or is it a tech company? If it mathematically in 3-dimensional space is very close to banana, then it's a fruit. But if it's in 3-dimensional space very close to Google, it's a tech company. And this is a vector. This would be a fruit vector, apple, banana, fruit vector. And this would be a tech company vector. So Apple, Google, tech company vector in 3-dimensional space. And you'll see what they look like in 3-dimensional space in the cluster embeds. So cosine similarity in Google. This is the secret cheat sheet to how Google's algorithms work. There's this thing called the BERT large language model, which is Google's LLM. And this is what we use to reverse engineer and figure out the maths and figure out whether something is cosine similarity related. They actually give you the algorithm for you to basically do the maths on yourself. It's actually really cool. And we've been doing this for a while now and we're getting amazing results, right? So you need to think about it this way. There's this thing called information retrieval costs. So let's get some context about Google, right? It's a publicly traded company. It's trying to save money all the time and be as efficient as possible. How does it be more efficient? If you type something into Google, like let's just say you're sitting in New York, right? And you're typing in best accommodation Bali, you press enter on the keyboard, goes down a fiber optic cable, probably a copper cable, and goes into Google server somewhere in New York. And then out of trillions of web pages, for your search in that exact location in New York at that time, it pulls the most relevant article for you. And it does that on the server in Google and it sends it down that fiber optic cable up into your computer, comes on your screen, hits your retina and hits your brain, you can figure out, oh, that's where I'm gonna stay in Bali. So beautiful, so elegant, we just take it for granted. But the reality is this was all done in less than 1/10 of a second from when you press enter. It's absolutely phenomenal, so don't forget that. And how does Google do that well? It basically gets rid of all the noise on the internet, meaning all the spammy pages, all the guest posts that you're currently buying, or probably are buying, and just focuses on the 2 or 3% in that area that actually matters in 3-dimensional space, right? So if you're trying to rank for Bali accommodation and your website is getting links from random websites on the internet that have nothing to do with Bali or accommodation, Google just sees those links in 3-dimensional space and just ignores them because it wants to only focus on links that are related to Bali and or accommodation, right? And it does that with cosine similarity. So the closer something is, the more it listens. And if it's outside of that little kind of cluster, it just gets ignored. And this is why it doesn't matter how much content you write, the amount of technical SEO that you do, or the amount of guest posts and backlinks that you're buying. Guest post links for 99% of the time are completely irrelevant because it's new pages. Google doesn't even index them. It's very, it's math, follow the math. So now let's see how we can use this intel to actually fix your content. So what's going on under the hood? Google converts those pages into embeddings, as I said earlier, and it does the same for each query. So it puts them all together in multi-dimensional space. It's very complicated math, and I won't go into that. But then it uses the cosine similarity to see how closely they align. And this happens in real time across billions of pages using systems like Word2Vec, transformer models, vector space models. So this is how Google understands running shoes, sneakers, CRM, like banana, Apple, Google as well. So the math here is what powers the synonym detection, the semantic search, and the relevance in single to multi-string words. So let's see how we actually use this to dominate your niche. Let's dive in now. How to win with cosine similarity. So there's 5 ways to use cosine similarity like a pro. The first one is stop optimizing for exact match keywords. You need to use tools like Surf for SEO or Google's NLP API to find semantically related phrases, not just keyword matches. Now what's important here is what Surf for SEO and other correlational SEO tools are doing is they're taking that 3-dimensional embed space and flattening it down and putting it on 2 dimensions in an Excel format or any of these formats. And this is what they're doing. They're using this math and putting it in 2 dimensions. When we can embed that in 3 dimensions, it's important to understand that on some level as well. And then you need to, for number 2, you need to audit for intent drift. A page that ranked for best CRM tools last year may die if today's users want more comparison charts instead. So this is where you need to use Google Search Console and similarity tools and actually check your search engine results pages to stay aligned to see what you're doing matches the intent query of that specific keyword. And the third thing you need to do is fix cannibalization issues before Google gets confused. We see this all the time. Like so many clients are just writing all these blog posts on the same topic because they get told content is king, so they write 5 blog posts on the same topic and they're all competing for the same terms. And if you go into Ahrefs or SEMrush, you're going to be able to see how there's cannibalization issues are happening. It's very, very simple to see and it happens all the time. So stop doing that. There's ways to fix it quite easily as well. Number 4, tune content with semantic comparisons. What you want to do here is take your low CTR pages and compare them with the top ranking queries using cosine similarity tools or correlational tools and then tweak the intros, the headers, the examples. Just work on refining that process with tools like Surfer and other tools like that. And then number 5, you want to cluster the content like Google thinks. The BERT LLM, which is complicated to do, or you can come to us with that process, or you can use tools like Surfer SEO. Again, Surfer and all correlational SEO tools are the trick here. Because the cosine similarity, even though they don't give you that number, they give you the idea of the concept. It allows you to organize pages topically in a cluster. It's no longer, looking at the pages like, here's the blog roll and all the content underneath that. It has to be siloed in specific structures, and a silo is a 2-dimensional representation of a cluster, and this is what we're going for. And this process, if you do this right, it helps with your internal linking, your crawl efficiency, and also your topical authority. And now, as you can see, it's all starting to come into place here. Google doesn't rank keywords, it ranks meaning. Cosine similarity is how it tells the difference. If your rankings are flat, even with perfect links and content and tech, there's certainly a semantic misalignment somewhere in the process. And fixing that won't just lift your traffic, it'll future-proof your site against Google's next 20 updates. And the best part, it's math. It's reliable, repeatable, brutally honest math. Math doesn't lie. Same content, better alignment, bigger results. Everyone's happy. Use the math. So integrating cosine similarity into your SEO strategy is how you outrank your competitors that are still chasing keywords. Now, most people do this on a content front. The reality is it's really easy to cosine similarity your content. The best way to do this is actually with your backlinks, is to use semantic backlinks, which is what we do, and we do the same process with backlinkings. And this, when you have all these high quality backlinks that are semantically and topically aligned to your content, and then you have the content that's topically and semantically aligned, and then you have the internal links that are coming in that are topically and semantically aligned, creates a pressure system for a really strong signal for Google for that specific keyword that you just happen to be the best result for Google to retrieve in that 10th of a second whilst it's on the servers, that gives it to that result over there, and that result over there, and that result over there. And this is how you get the traffic. All right, so there's a catch here as well. There's a few things you need to get this right. It's not as simple as just doing a few things like that. If your internal page rank is broken, then you're confusing Google as well, and you're leaking your link juice. So click here to watch that video and save your site before it's too late. And if you've made it this far and your brain isn't broken, then you're officially more qualified than 97% of SEOs on LinkedIn.